Ever wonder how a tiny village of mud huts became the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen? Today, we're diving into 50 mind-blowing facts about ancient Rome that prove history is way more shocking, brutal, and brilliant than you ever imagined. Let's start at the very beginning. The official birthday of Rome is April 21st, 753 BC. This date, calculated by a scholar named Varro, was celebrated every year with a huge festival. But archaeology tells a different story. Early Rome wasn't a grand city. It was just a collection of scattered wooden huts on the Palatine Hill, home to poor shepherds. It was muddy, unimpressive, and totally overshadowed by its powerful neighbors. So how did this humble settlement develop such an incredible sense of destiny? Through a powerful myth, the story goes that Rome was founded by the twin brothers Romulus and Remus, sons of the war god Mars. Abandoned in a river, they were rescued and raised by a This wasn't just a fairy tale. It was Rome's origin story for conquest, convincing them they were born to rule. After a dispute, Romulus killed his brother and became Rome's first king, ruling for 37 years. He created the Senate, organized the people, and then mysteriously vanished in a storm, only to be declared a god. This was the start of a long tradition of leader worship. But the age of kings wouldn't last. In 509 BC, the last king was overthrown after his son committed a horrific crime against a noblewoman named Lucretia. Her tragic death sparked a revolution that ended the monarchy for good. For the next 500 years, Romans despised the very idea of kings. This led to the birth of the Roman Republic, ruled by elected senators. Power was shared between two leaders called consuls, who were elected each year. This system was a major inspiration for modern democracy, but in reality, it was mostly controlled by a small group of wealthy families. This delicate balance was shattered by one man, Julius Caesar. In 49 BC, he illegally marched his army across the Rubicon River, plunging Rome into civil war and destroying the Republic. In a desperate attempt to save democracy, a group of over 60 senators assassinated him on the Ides of March, stabbing him to death on the floor of the Senate. But their plan backfired spectacularly. Instead of saving the Republic, they doomed Italiano. Out of the chaos, Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, emerged victorious. He cleverly renamed himself Augustus and claimed to be restoring the Republic, all while secretly holding all the power. In 27 BC, the Senate officially granted him ultimate authority, and the Roman Empire was born. A new era had begun. So, how did this new empire conquer the world? With an army unlike any other. Roman soldiers were called legionaries, and they were full-time professionals. Thanks to reforms by a general named Marius, even poor citizens could enlist for a salary, turning the army into the deadliest standing force on earth. A typical legion had about 5,000 men, divided into smaller, highly organized units. This structure allowed them to fight like a disciplined machine, not a chaotic mob. Their training was relentless. They drilled every single day with swords and shields, learned to swim in full armor, and could build a fortified camp in a single afternoon. On the march, they were expected to cover up to 20 miles a day, carrying all their own gear, food, weapons, tents, and tools. This crushing load, which could weigh up to 45 kilograms, earned them the nickname Marius's Mules. In battle, they were famous for the tortoise formation, where they locked their shields together to create a human tank that was almost impenetrable to arrows. But the army didn't just fight, it built. As they conquered new lands, they immediately laid down roads, locking territory into Roman control. Discipline was absolute and brutally enforced. A soldier who broke formation could be beaten, and the worst punishment was decimation, where every 10th man in a unit was killed by his own comrades. It was this terrifying combination of engineering, discipline, and organization that allowed Rome to conquer 3 continents: Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Rome's engineering genius wasn't just for war. They built over 250,000 miles of roads, layered with stone, gravel, and concrete, allowing armies and trade to move at incredible speeds. Many modern highways in Europe still follow the original Roman routes because their foundations were just that good. Then, there's the Colosseum. Opened in 80 AD, this massive amphitheater could hold 65,000 people, all seated according to social class. Senators got the best seats, while the poor and slaves were stuck at the very top. It took only 8 years to build, using the labor of 60,000 slaves captured from Jerusalem. Nearby stands the Pantheon, which boasts the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. The Romans were masters of concrete, mixing volcanic ash with lime to create a material that actually gets stronger underwater. This miracle material was key to their greatest projects. They also built aqueducts that supplied cities with millions of liters of fresh water each day. Some of these channels ran for 60 miles, built with such a precise slope that the water flowed perfectly without any modern technology. And believe it or not, some ancient Roman sewers, like the Cloaca Maxima in Rome, are over 2,500 years old and still in use today. They even had public toilets, with rows of stone seats where people socialized. But instead of toilet paper, they all shared a single sponge on a stick. Daily life in Rome was full of strange customs. Did you know Romans brushed their teeth with urine? The ammonia in it was an effective whitener. It was so popular that the emperor even put a tax on urine collection. Wealthy Romans enjoyed the world's first central heating, a system that pumped hot air under their marble floors. The public baths were the center of social life, a place for business deals, gossip, and networking. And that famous Roman toga. It was heavy and uncomfortable, saved only for formal occasions. Most people just wore simple tunics. To keep the massive population of Rome happy, the government provided free food and entertainment. This policy was known as bread and circuses. A poet named Juvenal criticized citizens for caring more about free grain and chariot races than politics, a warning that still echoes today. Children went to school from age 7, and graffiti was everywhere. The walls of Pompeii are covered in everything from insults to love notes, proving that human nature hasn't changed much. And yes, fast food existed. Street bars sold hot meals to go for people who didn't have kitchens. Of course, you can't talk about Roman entertainment without mentioning the gladiators. They were the superstars of their day. True celebrities. Their faces were on everything from pottery to jewelry. Some were slaves or prisoners of war, forced to fight, but others were free men who volunteered, risking death for fame and fortune. And yes, women fought as gladiators too, though they were considered scandalous. Gladiators trained in special schools like elite athletes, and they had devoted fan clubs. They were the original sports influencers, endorsing products like wine and cosmetics. Not every fight was to the death. They were expensive assets. Often, a referee would stop a fight to save a valuable gladiator. But ultimately, the crowd decided a defeated fighter's fate with their shouts and gestures. The spectacle could be taken to even greater extremes. The Colosseum was once flooded to stage massive naval battles with real ships and real casualties. It was a world where entertainment and brutality were one and the same. From a muddy village to a global superpower, Rome's story is one of myth, ambition, genius, and violence. The empire they built shaped the course of history, and its legacy is still all around us, in our laws, our languages, and the very roads beneath our feet. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more incredible stories from the past. See you next time.